welcome back, and hope you're having a great time here. So once again, thank you so much for your time. So guys, in one of my last videos, so I talk about the collapse of the European Union as a result, the collapse of the European Union, or the difficulties of the European Union as a result of the Russian-Ukraine war. So, when this war started, the European Union and the United States, they imposed lots and lots of sanctions on Russia, particularly on the Gazprom Bank. Yeah, on the Gazprom Bank. And the Gazprom Bank is the bank whereby, all financial transactions are being made through that bank. All financial transactions with respect to the gas supply by Russia to Europe, they are being made through that bank. So the European Union and European Union, United Kingdom, France, as well as the United States, they imposed sanctions on Russia. So since then, these deals can no longer, deals can no longer be executed, because one reason is that because the Nord Stream pipeline, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Nord Stream pipeline number 2 was bombed. America claimed it's terrorists, but it's not the terrorists who bombed that. It's America who bombed that pipeline because they want to inhibit. Yeah, they want to inhibit. They don't want to allow Russia to continue supplying gas to Europe. Rather, Europe should buy gas from American companies, which is 40 times expensive. So now let's come back home. The instigator of the war, the United States, France, and the United Kingdom. These are the instigators of the war. Okay, what is going on now? You see that the Ukraine President Zelensky, that this Europe and America, they are supporting to fight the war with Russia. He too now has particularly blocked gas supplies to Europe. Yes, but a few days ago, if I'm not mistaken, 1 or 2 days ago, he made it in his statement, and very clear. His energy minister made this statement that they are blocking gas supply to Europe, and they are not ready, and they are not willing to do anything. They are not willing to accept that, except with the previous contracts that were made. And they are stopping this, or they are blocking this, because they know that Russia is benefiting, and they also benefit. They are also benefiting a little bit because they know that this pipeline also passed through a little part, I think, if I'm not mistaken, through a little part of Ukraine. So they are blocking it now. But Europe is the one who has been giving support to Ukraine to fight Russia. Europe has been giving material support, financial support to Ukraine. But now, Ukraine has blocked gas supply to Europe. Countries like Slovenia, Hungary, and other countries are going through massive difficulties because of gas supply, because of the lack of energy supply. So, this is something I mentioned in one of my other videos. And I will want you, please do not go away. Just stay back and watch this particular news that says it all, what Zelensky just did. Zelensky did this to people who have been supporting him both materially and financially in this war with Russia. In his war, I will call it his war. I will not call it the Putin's war, because calling it the Putin's war is just a conspiracy theory. America know why they instigated this war, but I will not continue. I will not go further. I will just want you to take a look. Just listen. Please listen to this report. Listen to this report, and I'll be back.
The conflict between Russia and Ukraine has led the European Union and the United States to implement stringent sanctions on Russia, with a particular focus on banking institutions like Gazprom Bank. Although these measures aim to penalize Russia, they also jeopardize Europe's energy security and economic stability. The recent discussions between the EU and US about easing some of these restrictions reflect Europe's deepening energy concerns and the delicate balancing act between political objectives and economic realities. The tension now reached another level with an announcement today by Ukraine and Russia's leaders. Russian and Ukrainian leaders have both dismissed any possibility of renewing a crucial gas transit agreement for Europe, causing futures prices to spike. Ukrainian authorities declined to prolong the current 5-year contract for transporting Russian gas across their territory beyond its expiration at the end of this month, Russian President Vladimir Putin stated in Moscow. Meanwhile, comments from President Volodymyr Zelensky in Brussels signaled that Ukraine will not facilitate Russian gas transit moving forward. There will be no such contract, it's clear now, Putin announced at his annual press conference. There is the question of what happens next. But that's not our problem, he said, adding that Gazprom PJSC, Russia's state-controlled gas giant, will survive. With fewer than 2 weeks until the new year, consumers such as Slovakia face mounting difficulties in arranging a deal acceptable to Ukraine, which has consistently refused any arrangement that would continue moving Russian gas and effectively reinforce the Kremlin's revenue stream. Regional energy companies this week pushed for some form of agreement that would keep gas moving through Ukraine next year. Without it, they must resort to alternative, more expensive supplies. This places intense pressure on the next 12 days, which will either produce a last-minute workaround or result in halting a decades-old transit route for Russian gas into Europe. European gas markets reacted sharply on Thursday. After initially falling by 3%, prices rebounded as much as 5.6%, marking their largest daily increase in more than a month and underscoring the market's current anxiety. A range of contingency plans has been suggested, from European buyers purchasing gas at the Russia-Ukraine border to creating a supply swap arrangement involving a third party like Azerbaijan. Nonetheless, Zelensky made it clear on Thursday that even these alternate solutions would, in effect, still finance Moscow's activities. If another nation purchases Russian gas before it crosses into Ukraine, then passes it along, it remains the same as getting money from this war and transferring money to Russia, the Ukrainian president said. At present, about 15 billion cubic meters of Russian gas still transit annually through Ukraine to several European destinations, despite a nearly 3-year-long war between Kiev and Moscow. Remaining Gazprom clients in the region are now scrambling to prevent any disruption this winter. Gazprom Bank occupies a central role in facilitating Russia's natural gas exports to Europe. US-imposed sanctions against this bank have created uncertainty about the reliability of continued Russian gas flows. Even though President Vladimir Putin has authorized foreign purchasers to use alternative banks instead of Gazprom Bank, considerable financial and legal ambiguities remain. Consequently, European energy companies and governments find themselves struggling to maintain gas supplies without breaching the complex sanctions framework. The problem has intensified as Bulgaria now threatens to halt the transit of Russian natural gas through its territory, a step that could significantly affect the region's overall energy security. This stance emerges amid mounting complications triggered by the US sanctions on Gazprom, Russia's state-owned energy giant, and its financial conduit, Gazprom Bank. The sanctions have cast doubt on acceptable payment methods for gas transit services, making an already fragile energy scenario even more precarious. Bulgaria's position is unyielding. Its energy minister, Vladimir Malinov, has made it clear that Bulgartransgaz, the national grid operator, will block any gas transit unless payments fully comply with existing contracts. The crux of the issue is the dependency on Gazprom Bank, which now operates under sanctions, to manage payments for utilizing the Turkstream pipeline traversing Bulgarian territory. This pipeline is vital, carrying roughly 18 billion cubic meters of gas annually to nations including Serbia and Hungary, as well as onward to other countries in the Western Balkans. The timing of this standoff is particularly sensitive, as Europe anticipates increasing energy demands during the winter. Any serious disruption to these gas flows could worsen supply shortfalls, send shockwaves through energy markets, and push costs higher for both households and businesses. While Bulgaria has up to now received its payments for transit services, the looming December 20th deadline, when US sanctions fully take effect, has escalated the urgency. Without a viable payment alternative, halting transit becomes increasingly probable. Restricting Russian energy imports carries substantial economic implications for the EU. Energy represents a significant component of the EU's overall imports, meaning any disturbances or price hikes will raise production costs, inflate consumer prices, and intensify economic strain. Energy-intensive industries might scale back, resulting in job losses and weaker economic growth. Moreover, pivoting to other suppliers such as U.S. liquefied natural gas, LNG, typically comes at a higher cost than Russian pipeline gas. Elevated input costs flow down the supply chain, stoking inflation and eroding consumers' disposable income. Ultimately, this dynamic dampens broader economic activity across the EU. The sanctions on Gazprom Bank are disrupting more than just energy transactions. They are also unsettling the broader financial sector. Fearful of contravening U.S. sanctions, European banks are reluctant to engage with Gazprom Bank, making it difficult to structure energy deals. This hesitation, in turn, slows investment in energy infrastructure and stalls new projects, prolonging Europe's energy difficulties. In addition, convoluted payment routes, such as utilizing subsidiaries in Luxembourg or other intermediaries, inject more uncertainty into the process. Financial institutions must proceed cautiously to avoid sanctions-related penalties, further complicating and delaying transactions and market stability. The severity of Europe's energy crisis has prompted EU and US policymakers to reconsider their stringent sanctions. Recognizing that maintaining sanctions on Gazprom Bank might undermine energy security and economic stability, officials are exploring ways to relax or reinterpret these measures. Potential compromises involve sanction carve-outs that allow payments through alternative channels or affiliates, reducing transactional obstacles without wholly abandoning the sanctions regime. This evolution demonstrates a pragmatic acknowledgement that political and economic objectives must be balanced. While the EU and US remain committed to penalizing Russia for its aggression in Ukraine, the pressing need for consistent and affordable energy supplies in Europe demands a more adaptable approach. This recalibration underscores the complex interplay among energy policy, economic well-being, and geopolitical strategy. Northwest Europe braces for an impending drop in temperatures below seasonal norms next week, putting energy infrastructures to the test as gas reserves drain swiftly. Following a brief period of milder weather, a cold front will descend upon nations like Germany and France, sharply increasing heating demands. Europe's gas storages have been rapidly depleting in recent months under the strain of higher consumption amid cooler conditions. Simultaneously, low wind output has constrained renewable energy production, amplifying dependency on gas-fired electricity. This confluence of factors has already driven gas prices roughly 50% higher this year. European countries heavily reliant on Russian gas are navigating a tangled web of complications as the December 20, 2024 deadline for U.S. sanctions on Gazprom Bank approaches. Intended to diminish Russia's military funding, these measures are causing significant headaches for Slovakia, Hungary, and Austria, all of which hold long-term contracts with Gazprom. New restrictions impede standard payment procedures, potentially destabilizing energy supplies throughout Europe. In this video, we will delve into the evolving conflict between Russia and multiple European countries, Russia's decision to cut off gas supplies, and the recent US sanctions on Gazprom. We will assess the likelihood that these sanctions might sever Russian gas supplies to Europe entirely, and explore the potential repercussions as the continent confronts one of its most challenging winters in recent memory. Let's take a quick pause. If you've enjoyed the video so far, could we ask a small favor? Hitting the like button helps us reach a broader audience, and sharing your thoughts or feedback in the comments makes an even bigger impact. Thank you for watching. Now, let's dive back in. Hungary is highly concerned about possible interruptions in gas shipments through Ukraine, an essential transit route, while Slovakia actively pursues measures to ensure its continued supply. Austria, facing renewed pressure since OMV AG halted payments to Gazprom, must also adapt to the shifting landscape. Meanwhile, Turkey, a major conduit for Russian gas via the Turk Stream pipeline, is engaged in negotiations with the US for exceptions that would permit continued use of Gazprom Bank. With European gas futures edging toward their highest levels in a year, various countries are probing alternative solutions, such as routing payments through sanctioned Russian banks or obtaining special licenses from the US Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC, for energy-related transactions. Some proposals include targeted waivers for specific customers or revising contracts with Gazprom, options that could lead to protracted legal and diplomatic disputes. The hostilities between Russia and Ukraine that erupted in February 2022 have profoundly strained the EU-Russia energy relationship. Russia, which previously supplied close to 40% of the EU's gas, has seen its role sharply diminished as a result of sanctions and charges of wielding energy as leverage. The Nord Stream pipeline experienced substantial reductions before ultimately halting, while nations that refused ruble-based transactions found their gas deliveries abruptly severed. In response, the EU accelerated its search for diversified energy sources, increasing LNG imports from the US and Qatar, and investing more aggressively in renewables. However, this transition, coupled with ongoing market turbulence, has driven gas prices to unprecedented heights, exceeding €300 per megawatt-hour in 2022, and fueled inflation, placing burdens on both households and businesses. European natural gas prices have surged amid renewed geopolitical frictions. As of November 22, 2024, the Dutch Tidal Transfer Facility (TTF) benchmark rose 2.61% to €46.86 per megawatt-hour, reflecting investor trepidation about imminent supply interruptions. These market jitters coincide with Ukraine's deployment of advanced missiles against Russian targets and the imminent expiration of the Russia-Ukraine gas transit agreement, developments that could further constrict supply lines. In the UK, Ofgem, the energy regulator, recently raised the energy price cap by £21, citing mounting wholesale costs tied to political instability and severe weather. This move lifts the average annual household energy bill to £1,738, spotlighting the broader repercussions for European consumers. Examining the historical context of Russia-EU relations, post-World War II to the Cold War. Substantial energy trade between Russia, then the Soviet Union and Europe took root in the late 1960s, with Austria pioneering Soviet gas imports. Early pipelines like the Druzhba, operational since 1964, provided oil supplies to Eastern Bloc allies. The construction of the Urengoy-Pommery-Uzhhorod pipeline in the early 1980s amplified gas exports to Western Europe. By the late 1980s, Soviet gas formed a substantial portion of the energy consumption in countries such as Germany and France. During the Reagan administration in the United States, there were deep concerns about Western Europe's increasing dependence on Soviet energy, which Washington feared would expand the USSR's political influence. Although the United States tried to thwart pipeline projects by restricting sales of equipment and technology, European allies persisted, ensuring that Russian gas became firmly ingrained in their energy mix. Post-Soviet developments. Following the Soviet Union's dissolution, EU-Russia energy cooperation flourished under the 1994 Partnership and Cooperation Agreement, or PCA. The PCA aimed to reinforce political and economic freedoms, ensure peace and security, and promote economic partnership. By 2005, energy was the bedrock of EU-Russia trade, pushing total trade volumes beyond €166 billion. Russia enjoyed a trade surplus of about €50 billion, approximately 8% of its GDP, and ranked as the EU's third-largest trading partner. Simultaneously, the EU remained Russia's most significant trading partner, accounting for over half of Russia's total trade volume. This mutually beneficial arrangement hinged on complementary economic structures, with roughly 65% of the EU's imports from Russia centered on energy products. In return, the EU sourced about 28% of its energy from Russia on average, reliance that reached 100% in certain countries. The 2014 Ukraine crisis. Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 marked a dramatic turning point for EU-Russia energy ties. The EU responded with sanctions targeting key sectors of Russia's economy, energy, finance, and defense. These measures sought to limit Russian access to European markets and technology, thereby disrupting long-standing energy links. EU sanctions included import bans from Crimea, investment prohibitions, and travel restrictions, alongside constraints on exporting specialized energy equipment and technology to Russia. The underlying goal was to stymie Russia's capacity to develop deep-water, Arctic, and shale resources. In response, Russia shifted its focus eastward, seeking to expand its energy trade with China and other Asian buyers to mitigate the loss of European markets. This strategic realignment aimed to reduce Russia's economic vulnerability and diversify its customer base. The sanctions caused a significant decline in EU-Russia trade, with energy imports falling sharply. The EU also intensified its pursuit of alternative energy sources, increasing LNG imports and investing in renewables. all in an effort to bolster energy security and lessen its dependency on Russian supplies. The long-term impact of the Ukraine conflict. The continuing war between Russia and Ukraine has led to unprecedented sanctions that dramatically reduced Russian energy flows to the EU. Between the first quarter of 2022 and the third quarter of 2024, EU imports from Russia plummeted by 86%, with petroleum oil imports retreating to just 7% of their 2021 levels. This precipitous drop has significantly impacted the EU's trade balance with Russia, with the trade deficit shrinking from 46 billion euros in the second quarter of 2022 to a mere 0.6 billion euros by the third quarter of 2024. Austria's ongoing energy challenges. Austria, serving as a strategic gas hub, has been notably affected. OMVAG recently declared that Gazprom ceased deliveries due to arbitration-related disputes, prompting a 2.7% increase in gas prices. This interruption underscores Europe's fragile energy predicament and the critical need for diversified supply sources. A bitterly cold winter ahead. Europe braces for what could be its coldest winter since the onset of the Ukraine conflict, intensifying pressure on an already strained energy system grappling with reduced Russian gas imports. Although forecasts indicate that temperatures will remain slightly above historical averages, they are still expected to be colder than recent years. This scenario intensifies the strain on energy infrastructure, storage, and generation capacity across the continent. Germany, a key market under duress. As the largest power market in Europe, Germany is bracing for elevated heating demand. Projections for the next 6 to 10 days suggest about 18 heating degree days, 3 more than the 10-year seasonal average, signaling heavier gas consumption for heating and compounding Europe's energy challenges. Conclusion. The interplay of U.S. sanctions targeting Gazprom Bank Russia's withdrawal of gas supplies to Europe and the broader geopolitical tumult has radically transformed Europe's energy outlook. Russia's once dominant position, supplying nearly 40% of Europe's gas, has eroded, leaving a sizable supply gap and triggering turmoil in global energy markets. As gas prices have skyrocketed, households and industries alike face mounting costs. From 2020's average 19 euros per megawatt hour to over 300 euros per megawatt hour in 2022, and then settling at elevated levels in 2023, these price shocks have crimped industrial output, reduced competitiveness, and squeezed family budgets. Though governments have responded with subsidies and price caps, these interventions place additional strain on public finances. With winter looming, fears of supply shortfalls intensify. Despite efforts to refill storage, levels remain lower than desired, raising the specter of blackouts or rationed energy use. Germany, confronted with these challenges, has resorted to reactivating coal-fired power plants and delaying the retirement of its remaining nuclear reactors. Moreover, the looming expiration of the Russia-Ukraine gas transit agreement at the end of 2024 further clouds the outlook. This agreement had secured around 40 billion cubic meters of annual gas flows to Central and Eastern Europe. If it lapses, it could remove another crucial artery from Europe's energy network, exacerbating supply uncertainties and complicating already delicate negotiations with alternative suppliers. In sum, the convergence of sanctions, supply disruptions, and geopolitical hazards underscores Europe's urgent need for a more resilient, diversified energy portfolio. Yet, forging a pathway forward poses formidable challenges as European nations struggle to reconcile immediate energy requirements with their long-term aspirations for stability, sustainability, and reduced external dependence. That's all for this video.
To that report from Fast Tepo, you have listened to that report. So the thing is, all this conspiracy theory continues. America is there claiming that Europe is their ally. Europe is their ally. Europe is there, furthermore happy that America is providing them with security. America was not even be able to secure themselves. You go to America every day, you hear gunman, gunman every blessed day. We are watching the things in the news. What is really going on? The question that I would like to ask is, who made America the police of the world? Who made America the police of the world? America is destabilizing the entire world. This world is being destabilized by the America. You have listened it from this. You have listened. You have listened from this short video from Fast Temple. You have listened it. America imposed all these sanctions. They instigated this war because they want that Europe should not be buying gas anymore from Russia. Because Russia has quality gas, and that is, they give it to Europe at a cheaper price. They give it to Europe at a cheaper price. But now, what American companies are the ones supplying gas now to Europe. They're the ones supplying gas to Europe. And the gas they are supplying to Europe is 40% more than what Europe used to get from Russia. Is it that European Union is just, or Europe is just a puppet to the United States? Is it that America is providing the security that Europe needs to the Europeans? If at all America is doing this, why is it that those of us who are in Europe, we cannot see it? Just like how some of the European leaders, or Europe has made Africa, some African leaders to be their puppets. That is just how Europe is a puppet to the United States. Everything that the United States says, Europe will accept. You also listen in this report how they are saying that Joe Biden, this current American government, has destroyed America completely, destroyed everything about them. Before, when we were growing, we know that, okay, good. We used to know that Republicans are the people who like to destroy, who like to fight war, cause a lot of war or chaos around the world. But that's not the case in today's world. The conspiracy theory that is out there now is modern, and the Democrats are the worst set of people in American history as of now. Yes, the Democrats are the worst set of people. You have heard it all. When we say Europe is collapsing, some of you think we are just saying it because we want to say it. But I tell you the truth, we are into it. We are into it. We understand the systems. The economic crisis that is now in Europe is more than, particularly in Germany, France, the economic crisis that is there. I don't want to talk about other countries because you see, like countries like Luxembourg and Switzerland. Switzerland is a country and a world on its own. Luxembourg is in Europe. But I tell you the truth, Luxembourg is fine because that is where most of our leaders, African leaders, when they steal money, they go and keep it either in Luxembourg or in Switzerland. So is this money that they are using to run their economy? They are not too dependent on certain things. Like how in Germany, Germans depend a lot on taxes. That's not the thing in these two countries, Luxembourg and Switzerland. But guys, the thing is, Europe is going down. And know that Europe is just a puppet to the United States because the sanctions that were imposed, that European Union and the United States imposed to Russia, is that Europe indirectly imposed or indirectly destroy itself. Europe indirectly destroy itself by imposing sanctions on Russia or by supporting the Ukrainians in this war. Because I tell you something, Zelensky is making a huge amount of money out of this. Zelensky is a businessman. He knows exactly what he's doing. Can Ukraine fight Russia? Of course not. The question is, that I would like to ask, what do you guys think? Do you really think that it was right for Europe to join with America and impose sanctions on Russia? I mean, very stringent sanctions, because Europe is now begging America to be a little bit fair in some of these sanctions, because Europe is suffering. What is your thought? Please visit the comment section. Let's discuss. So guys, don't only watch the video and go. Please do us a favor. Support us by clicking that like button after watching, dropping us your comment, and also sharing the video. We are here because you're there. Thank you guys for your time, and you remain blessed. See you in my next video. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you all for watching this here video.